This video will be devoted entirely to problem number 33. In problem number 33, we're after just the A. And A only appears in one line, which is kind of nice. However, it appears in two locations. It is the consequent of the first conjunct and the consequent of the second conjunct. So there are our A's. Line number 1, which contains the variable that we're after, and line number 1, we've got two horseshoes joined by a dot. And again, this sounds like the makings of a constructive dilemma. Two horseshoes joined by a dot, that's one of the necessary conditions to pull out CD, so it might very well be a constructive dilemma. If we're able to pull off constructive dilemma, we get the consequent of each horseshoe joined by a wedge. In this case, we get a wedge A. We would get A or A, which is tautologous. A or A, of course, we know, via Rule 18, is just simply A. So if we could pull off a constructive dilemma, we'd have ourselves the A. But of course, to pull off constructive dilemma, not only do we need two horseshoes joined by a dot, check, we've got that. We also need the antecedent to each horseshoe joined by a wedge. To do that constructive dilemma, we would need E wedge F. So I'm just going to keep track of that here in the margins. What I really need is E wedge F. If I can get that E wedge F, then no problems. I've got the A via constructive dilemma, followed immediately by tautology. So that's the real question. How can I get the E wedge F? I know I'm going to use line 1 for constructive dilemma, so I need to get the E or F out of lines 2 and 3. And lo and behold, 2 and 3, those contain the variables that I'm after. We've got the E, we've got the F. However, turning 2 and 3 into E or F, that's the real difficulty, that's the real challenge. So let's take a moment here to think our way through the problem. What can we do to lines 2 and 3 to set up an E wedge F? Well, the main operator in 2 and 3 respectively, obviously the wedge. So what can we do with wedge statements? Think through the possibilities here, not a whole heck of a lot. One possibility, and this ultimately will be the one that it'll come down to, we could convert those wedges to horseshoes. What would that look like if we converted 2 and 3 respectively to horseshoe statements instead of wedges? Would that be easier ultimately to deal with? So let's explore this possibility, and fair enough, it's not something that will leap right off the page at you. It doesn't hit you in the head like a ton of bricks. It takes quite a lot of thought to realize that, aha, if I switch these to horseshoes, I can set up an HS, and then switch it back to a wedge, and that'll give me an E wedge F. So here's how it works. To go from wedge to horseshoe via material implication, obviously you need to take away a tilde from the first variable. And neither of these two have a tilde out front. There is, however, a tilde present in line number 3. It just doesn't come first. But that's easy enough. Via com, 3 com, we can get that tilde out front. That becomes not G or F. And now, as discussed, we can do impl on 4. 4 impl, and we would get G horseshoe F. G horseshoe F. So that's impl on line number 3 after we flipped it around. What about line number 2? If we're going to pull off impl, we need a tilde there. There isn't a tilde, so how can we get a tilde into the picture? Well, the only way, given that the operator is a wedge, to get the tilde into the picture is to take that intermediate step to do double negation. So let's do 2dn. We can add tildes or take them away in multiples of 2. We want it out front, so let's add 2 tildes to the E. Not E or G. And now we're prepared to do material implication. Wedge to horseshoe, take away 1 tilde from the first variable. That'll leave us 1 behind. So we get not E, horseshoe G. So that's 6 impl. And the fruit of our labor here, the end result, we get 5 and 7. So what can we do with 5 and 7? Well, 5 and 7, that set us up for hypothetical syllogism. Common variable, one's the antecedent, one's the consequent. There's our cross-canceling. We get out the leftover parts, moving left to right, not E, horseshoe F. 5 and 7 rather, 5 and 7 HS. Now we've got the variables linked together. We've got the E and the F together just as we wanted. But we've got a tilde, we don't want a tilde. We've got a horseshoe, we want a wedge. Well, easy enough again to take care of that. A impl will shift that horseshoe to a wedge, horseshoe to wedge, add a tilde. There's already one there, add one more. We get not E or F. So now, again, we just need to get rid of the tildes. We've got 2, we don't want any. Easy enough to do that. 9 double negation. take away multiples of 2, and we get E wedge F. So we went through all of those steps, not to get the A, just to get the E wedge F, and now that we have that, finally we can go back up and utilize line number 1. 1 and 10, constructive dilemma. That gets us A wedge A, consequent of each horseshoe joined by a wedge. Well, that's tautologous, A over A, that's redundant, that's just A. 11 taut, and we're finally done. So not at all easy to see, not at all easy to think your way through, but once you recognize the key steps here, switching those wedges to horseshoes to set up that hypothetical syllogism, it all unfolds quite nicely.